So welcome back everybody to Imperium Goddess Diaries, where I just talk about my life and how things that have happened in my spiritual awakening, things that I've learned, things that I've understood, and hopefully I can help someone else who finds my channel. So without further ado, let's get started on an episode that is, look, I'm probably going to talk about these things a lot in my episodes, but it's about the apology that you're never going to get. And it's very hard, but it's doable. So without further ado, So as I said before, this episode is about accepting the apology that you never got. Now, it is a lot easier said than done. I'm not going to lie, but I'm going to tell you about my experiences and how I've actually overcome this situation. So in my life, and as I've said before, I've set tasks and challenges for myself. And one of the biggest challenges that I've ever had is betrayal from friends and breaking with friends and having bad experiences. I've always had really, really beautiful friends, and I've got a lot of beautiful long-time friends. But then there's friendships that I've had that have just come and gone really dramatically, and things people have done that have hurt me in the past. But then also what we need to remember is that we play a different character in everybody's life. And I potentially have played a villain in someone's life. Don't understand what I've done, but because I never get to talk to these people again. But we'll get to that. Anyway, so I have found myself in multiple situations where I have had my back turned on by people who I used to be friends with. Now, it only makes sense to me that it happens because I know that every time that I've had friendships with these people, every single time since I was a teenager, I just would know that I don't belong with them. I'm not one of them. That's not me saying that I'm above them. I'm just not vibrationally aligned with these people. And I would try, and, you would do things to just like fit in or just kind of, remain comfortable and kind of fight the feelings of something just doesn't feel right. And with me, that I continued that way, like into my late 20s. And then it was just only realizing the start of this year that, like, when I had people leave my life very, very instantly, that I'm like, you know what, Louisa, your intuition is very strong and you really, really need to start listening to it. So, as I said before, you will play a different character in a lot of people's lives. And some of the time that you're going to be the villain. You're going to have no intention to do so, but you're going to be the villain. Now, for me, I think dramatic ends of friendships kept happening, and I just never learned. But earlier this year is when I realized, okay, I need to start listening to my intuition and knowing this person maybe isn't right for me, but they would want to spend time with me. Now, as you ascend, and my therapist told me this, and she said, sorry, honey, but you will keep losing friends the more that you grow and the more that you ascend and the more that you evolve into a high dimension. So I was like, oh, sick. But you have put certain challenges in your life so that your soul contract, like with certain people, you have made soul contracts, and you will grow from these situations, and you will keep growing if you do not learn them. And this was my problem, that I just wasn't learning. I was being friends with people because they were nice to me and it was fun at the time. They made me feel good. I made them feel good. I'm not sure if anyone gets this, but some people will get, you have a really beautiful energy. I love being around you. Be careful of that. Be careful of that if it's constant, because if you're constantly giving away your energy because someone else likes it and you're feeling tired when you leave, notice that. That is a huge, like, beaming neon fucking sign saying, let's mark this. Like, why are you feeling this way? Anyway, so when you grow and evolve spiritually, you want to make people feel uncomfortable. Now, I had to learn this the hard way, and it's not nice because I didn't ever want to go out and make anybody feel uncomfortable. I'm literally the most, I'm quite hospitable. I like to bring people together, and I love making people feel good. But as you grow, your energy will start to grow as well. And your energy can become intimidating. But never, ever, ever under any circumstances dull that part of you, because that is the most beautiful part of you. When you see someone evolve into the purest, best energy they are, and they're radiating, like you can feel them from when they walk into the room, that, like in a good energy, that is what you want. And that is nothing, no one should take that away from you. So if you are emanating beautiful, strong energy, know that there's going to be times that people they're just not going to vibe with it anymore. But in saying that, people can only ever meet you as far as they've met themselves. So that energy that you're at, that consciousness level, that growing, that growth, some people are not going to understand it. They're going to find it uncomfortable, intimidating. You're going to be different. You're not going to align with their values anymore, their beliefs. And that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. That's a hard reality that you'll have to come to. But do you know what the best thing is that sometimes the less people, the better. But you can also find the most beautiful people when you go into the next level, and you go into the next, when you evolve again, there's going to be people on your level that are ready to meet you, and you're ready to meet them. You know, you're ready to come into each other's lives at the right time, and the right beautiful bond will be made. This could be down to friendships and relationships. You know, you could bond at the time that you exactly need each other, and because you're both at that same level, you'll be able to grow. So, without further ado, accepting the apology that you never got. I rambled a little bit just then, but you know, I'm going to do that a lot. The first step in doing and accepting an apology that you're never going to get. Now, this is for instances where you're just never going to talk to that person again. Like, you may not want to, or may not even get a chance to. Okay, so this is all internally. You need to do this all by yourself. Now, it's acknowledging what's happened. Step one, just acknowledging, just being like, okay, this is what's happened. And now we can start the repair journey. So with that, it kind of goes into the second step a little bit, because the second step is you understanding where they're at as well. Now, understanding where they're at is huge help to move on, because I'm telling you that you could literally write down in dot points what someone has done to you and what you want to, and what you need, and they couldn't understand it. It's like you're talking a different language. If you're at a different level of evolvement and consciousness, do not think that someone is going to listen to you, because they can't. They literally can't. They can try, or they may not want to try, and you may have to put it down to them. But it's when you need to realize that you cannot come together in a basic understanding, you're going to have to do this on your own. And I found it was a good way. Like, look, writing it down is a good way as well. And you're writing down and you're acknowledging, you go, okay, this is what's happened to me, and this is where they're at. And you don't make an excuse for them, but I put into words about the situation where they would have sat and where their mind frame would have been. So I try and put myself in their shoes and go, okay, this is what's happened to them, because I usually can pick up what happens to people in their lives and why they are the way they are. Like, I'm pretty quite intuitive, and also people open themselves up to me and tell me everything. So when I get close enough to people, I usually know what their lives are like. I'm like, okay, this is why they do things the way they do. This is where it kind of came from. This is what they would have seen in that moment, and this is what they needed. And unfortunately, sometimes you're just going to be that little punching bag, or you're just going to literally be just the target. And it's rough. But you weren't given that if you didn't think that you can handle. if your soul, when it said, I'm going to do this situation, I'm going to have this, it knew you were strong enough to get through it. That is why it gave it to you. So that goes for a lot of other things as well. Now, when you do write this down, you can do it in a few ways. I write it down as if like what it's happened and why it's happened. And then the way that you can do that is you can step out and just look at it as a third person. So if you can try and create a bit of understanding on the other person's situation, like I said before, where they're at with their consciousness, it'll be a lot easier for you to progress with moving on. But don't get me wrong, feelings of resentment and like hurt because you feel like you've been betrayed, it takes time for them to go away. So these things don't get rushed. Now, another one of the steps that I've taken to do this, because this has happened to me multiple times, is I write a letter to this person, but I don't send it ever. Because what you say in those letters is raw. And sometimes they're not going to be nice. And probably a lot of the time it's not going to be nice. Now, I've only ever written a letter once to someone, but when we fell out, and I sent it to her, and now we're best friends again. And because we both separated, evolved, and come back. But this, in a lot of instances, you write this letter, but you just don't send it. You just don't. And I was raw, and I wrote down, and then I would do this around the full moon as well. And so then I would burn it. And that's how I disposed of it. You want it out. You put all of your raw emotions, how this person made you feel, onto a piece of paper, and you would burn it. And I'm telling you, when I would burn pieces of paper for people who I've let go, the fire was like furious. It was like I felt that person still angry at me, like in the flame. It would crackle, it would burst. And I'm sitting there holding it with my tongs, and I'm like, oh, shit. Bye. Like, I can get rid of that. And then you'd like start flaming up, and you're like, ah. The amount of times I could have like burnt my house down doing burning rituals is crazy. Anyway, so there's that. Obviously, that's a releasing method as well, and accepting. Now, in meditation, because I do a lot of guided meditations, I like when someone talks, because if it's not guided, I will fall asleep. I just get really relaxed and away I go. So I know it's a given, and I know that, meditation is a really, really great way for you to get forward, but also it's a great way for you to pick up things that you don't really notice before. So you'll pick up other parts of you that are hurt and the reasons why, other situations and other factors that have come into play. So don't think that meditation won't work, but you have to be very consistent with it. Meditation is a very consistent practice. And I meditate every day, and when I do miss a day, I'm kind of spaced out. And with this, I've been able to locate further in my subconscious more of what's going on and why it's happened and why it's gone on. So and in saying that as well, when you do meditation, you can wake up, you can actually journal on what you've realized as well, like what your subconscious tells you. I like to do meditations where I meet my spirit guides and I ask them, please help me. Like, I don't know what to do. And sometimes they'll give me full sentences, and sometimes they'll give me words. And then sometimes I feel like they just all stare at me. Like, they do like this. And I'm like, what do you mean? But that's also the level of how much I'm into that meditation. If I'm not fully into that meditation, I don't hear them talking that much, because they're like, well, you're not really that present, so I'm waiting for you to be present. I'm like, sorry, but when I'm really into it, they'll talk. So if you've had the opportunity to meet yours or know who yours are or hear them, they will give you guidance and they will help you, because they are your team, they're your angels, and they're there with you every second of the day, wanting what's best for you, waiting for you to ask them, or waiting for a cue to give you a hand. Now, one of the last steps is for repairing and accepting apology that you never got, that's worked for me, is is talking about it. And that comes down to vulnerability, and something that I have struggled with as well. I'm just not an overly vulnerable person. But what I've done is been able to compartmentalize a little bit that yes, I'm hurt, and yes, this situation has hurt me, why it's happened to me, and what I can learn from it. And if you approach every situation that is bad or is made you feel awful with what have I learned from this, it's going to help you a lot, and it's going to give you a lot of peace. And it's given me a lot of peace knowing that, you know, and I sit down with good friends, people you can trust, family, you know, therapists, people in a third party, and be like, I'm feeling this way, like this hurts, like I need to talk about it. And you know, the people who really love you are going to sit there and go, no, I understand, and I'm here for you. And having those people here for you is going to do wonders for you. But then also there's going to be ways that they can explain to you somehow that you can also get through it. So not everyone has the same sort of like method, but I found these methods are the ones that have helped me since I've been through this a few times. But what you will find, if I can give you any piece behind this, and I'll bring it right back to what I've said multiple times through this episode, is that people only meet you as far as they've met themselves. And as when you raise your consciousness and you raise your vibration, you will lose people, which is unfortunate, but it happens. But also, don't ever let that dim any sparkle, any shine, your radiance is just like, it's valuable, and we need that in the world right now. So there's going to be times people are just going to drop you like a sack of shit, like dead set, just going to drop you. But don't let that dishearten you, because there's around the corner, there's going to be other people or other things that you're going to just grow from, and you're going to be like, thank you for this experience. I have been able to grow and become a better version of me. And do you know what? For me, if multiple situations kept happening, I started turning around and looking inside and going, you know what? I'm going to acknowledge me a little bit more. And acknowledge me a lot more when my intuition is speaking, because that is the one thing that has kept me safe in other situations where I have listened to it. So why wouldn't I listen to it at this time? So I hope you've enjoyed that episode, and I hope that you got something out of it. I would love to hear any other ways that people have gone through this themselves. I'm so open to hearing other people's stories. And I really hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your day. So thank you for listening.